When I was growing up, my older brother raced flat-track motorcycles, and as a result, my dad and him were gone most weekends during the racing season. Sometimes my mom, my younger sister, and myself would tag along, but my mom was never really into it, so she would just keep my sister and me home most of the time and plan fun things for us girls to do on the weekend. This incident happened on one of the weekends we stayed home back in 1987. So I was 10, and my sister was 8. It started out like every other Saturday with my dad and brother gone. My mom took us to eat McDonald's, we went to the mall, and then we came home to play Monopoly and watch cable. At around 10 p.m., my sister and I started to get sleepy, so my mom brought out the sleeping bags for all three of us to sleep in the living room together. I had asked my mom years later what time it was, because as a kid I didn't pay attention to the clock so much. So, around 2 a.m. someone starts banging on the front door. Our front door was pretty strange. It had 4 large panes of glass that weren't opaque, so they were covered with small curtains. We all wake up to this pounding, and rush to the door to look out one of the windows, and there's a girl at the door. She was probably in her late teens or early 20s, and I remember her wearing a white and blue windbreaker. She's frantically crying and begging my mom to let her in, because her boyfriend is chasing her and she's afraid he's going to kill her. My mom remained calm as hell in a scary situation and said, "I'm sorry, love. I can't let you in because I've got 2 young children with me, and I can't risk your boyfriend harming them if he gets in. I can call the police for you if you just stay here." Of course, that didn't sit well with the girl, as she started crying more and pointed to her foot that was broken in a cast. "Please, ma'am, you have to let me in. He's coming for me." Again, my mom politely refused and turned and ran to the kitchen and called 911. Our phone was mounted on the wall in the kitchen with a ridiculously long cord, so she was able to make it back to the door while on the phone with dispatch and told her the police were on the way. This made the girl go even more crazy and said, "I don't need the police because I will be dead before they get here." My mom apologized again and said that she was sorry, but she wasn't going to open the door. At this point, the girl just turned around and walked off into the darkness. About 5 to 7 minutes later, the police showed up. My mom gives a statement, and as she's doing so, my dad and my brother come home from the race. My dad doesn't even turn off the truck. He just ran up and looked terrified, asking what was going on. While my mom is telling my dad what happened, another officer walked up and said that he didn't see anyone, but found a shoe in the street in front of our house. The police leave, and we all sit in the living room for a bit to decompress, and I remember thinking that maybe my mom wasn't very nice to the girl, and should have just let her in. Fast forward to 2001, and it's about a week after I gave birth to my first son. Family and friends are all at my house doting on my baby. After most people leave, there's just my parents, my sister, me, and my son sitting in my living room this time, and I made a comment about how I didn't really love the neighborhood we moved to, but I was proud of actually having my own home with my husband. Then my sister says, "Hey Mom, you remember that lady that came to the door demanding to come in?" My mom says, "Yes, very well." At this point, I can tell my mom and dad weren't comfortable talking about it, because they each gave each other nervous glances. So my sister, being the asshole that she can be, says, "Why didn't you just let her in? I wonder if her boyfriend did end up killing her." My dad interjects and said that my mom did the right thing, because it was late and we were home alone. Then he adds this little end to it. Plus, they ended up finding her in a car with her boyfriend smoking dope a few blocks over. They had rope, duct tape, 2 shovels, and a shit ton of knives in their trunk. My sister and I said in unison, "What?" I asked why we were never told about that, and my dad said that they decided not to tell us so that we didn't feel unsafe in our own home. Finding this out made me feel like a huge jerk, because I always thought my mom was being somewhat rude, and I always wondered what happened to that girl. Now, learning about that sent chills down my spine. Even writing this out now gives me goosebumps. I'm a 24-year-old, 5'4", androgynous lesbian with short military cut hair. Now, this is a very important detail of my story, as I'm commonly mistaken for a male. Something I'll never take for granted ever again, as it was what saved my life. This happened last October. I work as a security guard in a college town, guarding a park between the lower, middle, and upper class part of town. You're probably wondering why a city park would need security. Well, it opened recently, and there was a lot of skepticism about wasting so much money on another park. There are some historic buildings nearby, some of the park property itself that we have to patrol, an old prison and some historic state building. This night I was doing my patrol around as usual, and I noticed this homeless man walking around. He looked like he was in his late 50s, but there wasn't any telling, as a good percentage of them are now on some type of drug anyway. I was always told to look for bruises on the arms, small holes, and protruding veins. You know, your average crackhead type stuff. He wore a dirty olive green polo and black pants. His beard and hair were gray and unkempt. I know, the stereotypical bum, right? It wasn't a problem for homeless people to just walk around the park. Granted, we did have some problems with them trying to sleep in the bathroom and on benches, sometimes even as far as under people's cars. I asked if he was okay. He just walked away and ignored me. The usual assumption is they have something they don't want us to know about, or just assume we're real cops. An hour later on my round, it's time for me to patrol in between the old buildings. I shine my flashlight down the small alley, which in the old days acted as a loading dock between the two buildings. I shined my flashlight in, not checking the corners carefully as I should have. I was knocked to the ground, and someone tried to restrain me. I heard another voice say, "Take his wallet." I didn't know what the hell was going on, and my body immediately went into fight or flight mode. My heavy flashlight got knocked out of my hand when I was pushed to the ground, so I started punching blindly until I hit something and heard a loud gasping noise. Immediately, the person trying to restrain me let go. I got up quickly and ran to activate the closest emergency call tower. I didn't even bother to get the flashlight, or even try to get a glimpse of my attackers. I just wanted to get the hell out of there. As soon as I hit the call tower, I yelled, "Help! I've been attacked!" The police were there in 3 minutes. When officers searched the back alley, no one was there, but my flashlight was still laying on the ground. The cover was cracked a little, but the light was still on. Police searched around the area until 20 minutes later, when they got a call that they had found the guy a few blocks away, not breathing. An officer stayed and patrolled with me, but I was done for the night. I locked myself in my vehicle the rest of the night. He walked the property himself for about an hour and a half before departing. At about 6:45, when I was about to walk in my door that morning, I received a call from the downtown police station. I arrived there an hour and a half later, and the investigator showed me a photo of the same homeless guy I had saw the previous night. He was in a hospital bed. He had a tube down his throat and a bruise on his neck. The suspect was expected to live, of course, and I wasn't charged with anything due to the circumstances. I was defending myself. Now fast forward a month later. The guy's able to breathe without the assistance of a tube down his throat. He wouldn't give the investigators information on his accomplice, who had left him to possibly die. The investigator told me that cocaine was found in his system, and told me that the situation could have gotten a lot worse had he not mistaken me for a male. I hate to imagine what. I still work as a guard. Of course, I'm not going to let one major situation stop me from doing my job, but I am much more careful now when I am on patrol. Even only checking the dark alley and those buildings at night from the inside of my vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. If you would like a chance to have your story featured in an upcoming video, make sure you check out the description for information on how to submit your stories. So I wanted to make a quick announcement to all my Patreon supporters. I was finally able to download all of my audio files for every story I've posted on my channel. I put them all in one folder, and anyone supporting my Patreon now has access to over 53 hours of strictly audio, including the stories that I've already made unlisted on this channel. I plan on working on Urmaker's audio soon, so make sure you stay up to date. You can find your link by going to my Patreon page and checking through your feed for patrons only. It's about a 4.3 gigabyte download, so expect it to take a little while. But it's 53 hours of content, so I hope you enjoy, and I really appreciate your support. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true.